Hello and welcome to Scrapbooking Station. In this video, we're going to be working with projects inspired by a sketch. So I'm going to put the camera over my shoulder and we'll get started. So this drawing comes from Page Maps and it's intended as a portrait scrapbook page. Now I work in 12 by 12 and that's what we're going to work with first is a scrapbook layout. And so instead of one photo, I've got two photos that are 3 by 3 to start off with, but I'm going to do some matte and layering. There's a couple things I like, these kind of cascade of elements. I want to try and keep the fact that it's kind of a long looking layout title over here, and since I got a photo, a place for my journaling. So my photos are going to be about leaves, so rather than do these snowflakes, we're going to do some leaf die cuts, and I've got an area in my backyard where we do some campfires, and so me and my daughter kind of rake this up, so I've got a before and an after. So once I pick the photos, I've got my sketch. I want to pick some papers, lay it back out a little bit. So these are from Paper Wishes, and this is North Country, so I've got 6 patterns to play with, and I just wanted to make sure I had orange and brown in the scheme of things. And then once I've got my patterns, I pick coordinating colors from my Stampin' Up stock, and so I've got Cajun Craze, Early Espresso, and a Mossy Meadow, and then if I want to add some bling, it's going to be gold. So let me cut out some of these elements, and then I'll be back with kind of a look at the layout. At this point, I've pieced together my background, and so these are 3 panels of pattern paper, and I did use a strip of cardstock just to kind of give it a little bit more security as I attach these lace borders. So in this picture, there's actually this little rickrack thing going on here, but since I have the panel, I just went ahead and put 2. Now at this point, I want to kind of try and decide on the colors for my matte and layer. So I'm going to use the dark brown and then the gold up against the picture. And I'm probably going to go ahead and edge with the Sharpie marker around each photo in brown, just to give it just a little bit of outline without adding a lot of layers. I actually might raise that up on foam tape as well. Now I've got a Big Z die that cuts 4 leaf patterns at a time. And so what this is I took a photo of my pear tree. So it's always kind of fun to introduce things that are personal to you in your scrapbook layout. So it was about the only tree that I still had color or leaves on the tree. And then what I've got here is a piece of transparency film that I sprayed with gold. Now it did turn a little milky in areas, and I'm really not worried as it gets laid down. Actually, it's easier to see that way. So I'm going to spray these probably with a couple solids and get my photos and kind of the leaves down, and then we're going to talk about the title and journaling. Okay, I realize there's a little bit of glare. I really can't help it with these gold Miri mats. So as I'm putting down these leaves for the background, well, first off, I kind of have placeholders. So I know I'm going to stamp so many on top of these die cut letters that say leaves. So many leaves is going to be my title. So these are not put down yet, so I know I've got plenty of room. Of course, these stamps are going to stamp much smaller and tighter together, and so I know where that's going to be. Then I kind of position these photos, sliding things in and out, and just because I just put a few very small foam squares, and this way as I kind of put this here, I can kind of tuck things where I want them without the foams getting in the way. You can always kind of pick this up and add more foam later, but actually they're very sticky, so I'm not going to have to. The other thing, these die cuts are from Tonic, and they are the Pretoria die set, so they come with this, and then also the outline, Stampin' Up stamps, and then that lace border comes from Paper Wishes. 2 lacy borders is what it's called, but I use this one a lot. And then on my solid leaves, the only thing I wanted to show you in that one photo of the die cuts is that I used embossing folders. So just added some texture. Still, it's nice and clean. So I can get this last picture on. I'm going to do my journaling, stamping, and do the letters. And then I'll just leave you a photo with the finished layout. I'm going to move into the next project. Okay, next I wanted to share this piece. So this was my December 2017 calendar, and it's the first one using this sketch. My little squares here are still a little bit larger than really what this is calling for, but at least this is a portrait, Again, I've used pattern papers from Paper Wishes to kind of back everything. I did use snowflakes for cascades, and most of these are die cut, and I think I've got a couple dazzles on here. And then I just stamped a couple snowmen. They're a little bit larger than this calls for, and my sentiment, or my salutation in this case, is up in here. Now, when I'm finished with the calendar, so December's over, I'm going to cut this off and make a card front and leave photos of that. So I want to try this sketch one more time. I'm going to use a card again, and this time I've got a craftwork card collection. So it comes with a lot of round toppers, 32 to be exact. And so I'm using this sketch because I don't want to do 32 of the same sort of looking cards. So I'm going to be using this topper, and I'm going to be using a 1.5 inch square cutting die. And I'm going to pick 2 places in here to make those 2 squares that go onto the sketch. It comes with backing paper to coordinate, so I'm going to be using that. It comes with candy, which are just little paper dots. It comes with some die cut flowers, and it comes with sentiments. So let me move this out of the way. Now I've put together the base of my card already, and it's going to be 6.5 by 4 inches, and my squares are still going to be 1.5 inches. I've got just a little narrow mat around, about 1/8 larger. And so when I put this on, it's going to be like somewhere in here. And then I've also used some of those flowers. So I've got those punched out, molded them up a little bit using really just a skewer with a bead on the end. And so I'm going to cascade those. So first I started with leaves, then I used the snowflakes as is in the sketch, and now I'm going to use flowers. I've got some pearls that I'll probably add to that, and so this is the way this is going to lie. Then I'll use my scraps. Let me just show you. So that circle topper, let me bring that back in. That looked like this. So I used 2 squares out of here, this one, and then the one underneath it actually, which is why I've got this tab here. Her little foot was sticking out, and I didn't want anyone to notice that. And then I punched out more flowers using little scraps. So that makes the most of that round topper without making a round looking card. I also use a small stamp from Paper Wishes. This is the Dandelion small stamp, and I just wanted to throw more black into the mix on my backing paper. So let me get these on the card front, and then I'll finish the inside and be back with the finished piece. Here's my finished card. So I did go about finding some pearls, so I added some pearls, and I also had some Nuvo drops. So I've got a little, just a little sparkle from time to time, depending on which angle you look at it. And also added some on that pattern paper. So that's the way the front looked. On the inside, again, trying to use up most of my niblets, so I had another die cut flower. And actually these are pieces from that circle topper, so I trimmed out a couple more of those. What's left over of my dazzle that makes the stripe. And actually on this end, put a nice little border piece, because I had it. Why not? Either throw it away or use it on this card. So that's the way that looks. Of course, I'm going to make my envelope. And then I thought I was going to leave it at that and tell you, you know what, you could also turn it this way. And I don't particularly care for when a crafter tells you, well, you could do this as well, but doesn't show you. So I took another one of those circles. And this time, I didn't separate it in half, so I just got this piece. Let's turn the sketch over. And this is going to look exactly like that. So I'm back to using my leaves for my cascade elements. I've got some craft paper here. The other thing this collection came with are these die cut leaves that are on craft cardstock with some gold foiling. And so I just took one of them and used small little framelits to add a couple of those. So really pretty. Couple gems and a little stamping. And then on the inside, I have a stamp of fairies. Actually, I have a lot of fairy stuff, so this worked out really well. And then another sentiment, of course, leftover piece of that pattern paper. So that's the way that one turned out. Now I'm going to leave photos of all that. And, again, I was going to leave you, but I thought, you know, I've kind of been forcing the issue about all these elements, and I was working with a collection from Hunky Dory called Floribunda, and it came with 2 squares that were the right size. So I backed that on some gingham. I added some butterflies. Now, it also included some of these butterflies, and then others I used a Sizzix die to cut out of craft cardstock, again with some foiling, and then some other gingham patterns. So like this. And this is an any size box, and I'll leave a link to that. how you make this, but it could be any size. So I've got the bottom, and I'm going to finish up the top, and then I'll leave photos of that. So anyway, find a design you like. You can use it on multiple projects. Of course, you want to make it work for you. So the other thing to take away is you don't need little squares. Something that comes in little squares to go ahead and use this design. And then my scrapbook layout. And actually, I'm going to have a companion page finished up so you can see the 2-page spread. And that's going to be in the last of the photos. Anyway, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year, and I thank you for watching.